Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
This week's national interest is somewhat provocatively titled Discovery of Pakistan. Why Discovery of Pakistan? Discovery of India we know, but Pakistan? Before we get there, we talk about two concepts. One is an ideological state and second is a national security state. Now, an ideological state is one that's built around an ideology, not necessarily a philosophy, but an ideology. So if you look back from the Second World War on, maybe two very important states have been built around ideologies or have been built on the foundation of ideologies. One is Israel, that was built on Zionism, and second Pakistan, that ideology was a two-nation theory, and also that Muslims of the subcontinent need a home. In fact, in every class in Pakistan, after maybe class 8 or 9 or 10, you have to pass a paper called Ideology of Pakistan. It is so clearly stated. Now, what is national security state? In national security state, usually ideological states become national security states. Why? Because national security states are ones where you allocate an inordinate share of national resources, national privilege, power to the armed forces, to security agencies, in the hope that this entire security machinery will then guard the ideology of the state. We saw this happen with the Soviet bloc, for example. Now, Pakistan in 1947 chose to go this way. It also signed many military alliances. India, on the other hand, chose a liberal constitutional path. It preferred non-alignment. It took its own time developing itself, strengthening itself. In 25 years, see what worked with whom. In 25 years, India was growing and becoming more powerful, whereas Pakistan got broken into two. In fact, Pakistan lost more than half its population to its eastern wing, to the other side, and Bangladesh came into being. So this ideology, this national security state status, this militarism did not work for Pakistan. Then came Bangladesh in 1971, end of 1971, around this time, 48 years ago. Initially, they began as a socialist secular state, but soon enough, because most of their generals were earlier part of Pakistan army, they also fell back in the trap of martial law. They had military dictators and also started following the same Pakistani ideological and national security state model. So they declared themselves an Islamic state. Bangladesh became an Islamic republic after having been secular for just 3 or 4 years, and then made all the same blunders that Pakistan did. In the process, Bangladesh became a global basket case. In fact, people would go to Bangladesh to use it as a metaphor for a lot of third world problems, from overpopulation to epidemics to natural calamities to all communal riots to all kinds of things. And then Bangladesh realized that it had made a mistake. It disowned that militarism. It also purged all the laws that the military rulers had brought in. It came back to being a secular state, and now it has become a true South Asian success story. On every social indicator today, it's ahead of Pakistan, including per capita GDP. Its growth rate today is almost 3 times that of Pakistan, and at this point, threatening to become twice as much as India's, because India slowed down for a moment. Its population growth rate used to be much higher than India's, has now come exactly to the same level as India's. That's 1% per year, very manageable. Compared to this, Pakistan is 2% per year, so twice as much. And on every other metric, including infant mortality, etc., 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 it's way ahead of Pakistan, and on many, it's now beating India as well. And surely, on being open defecation free, it beat India by several years. So that is a success story. Why? Because at some point, leaders of Bangladesh decided to follow the same route as India, not and to eschew the route that they or the virus that they had inherited from Pakistan. So you have a clear story here of two countries which followed a certain method, that is India and Bangladesh. Both have done well. Both have left Pakistan far behind. Pakistan, on the other hand, in 1985, when I went to Pakistan for the first time, my eyes popped out because it looked like the average Pakistani lived much better than us in India. And figures prove that. In 1985, Pakistan's per capita income was 65% higher than India's. Today, in 2019, although our growth has slowed down, India's per capita GDP will be 60% higher than Pakistan. How did that happen? Because that was an ideological national security state run by the military, which got involved in the Afghan jihad and thought they could use the same method against India, which started around 1981 in Punjab and then in Kashmir. Because they then started using terrorism as an instrument of state policy with no checks and balances. Pakistan's ISI is the most autonomous intelligence agency of a nuclear weapons power. Because they used terrorism as an instrument of state policy, their economy began to decline, their society began to decline. Today, they are a basket case. They are now consuming, or they've almost consumed, their 13th IMF bailout. Their economy is collapsing. They are selling a lot of their assets, a little bit of their sovereignty, because Chinese are coming and building the CPEC. And the port of Gwadar, etc. And you know what happens when China makes these big investments in any country. In every field now, they've fallen far behind India. In fact, if it was a race, India is several laps ahead of Pakistan. Even Bangladesh has now gone way ahead of Pakistan on most social indicators. So it's very clear in the subcontinent which method works for a nation, which method doesn't work for a nation, because we are essentially very similar people. Now, in that situation, to find this sudden fascination for Pakistan, that Pakistan is a national security state, it does look like we are also building a national security state in India. That's why all this talk of weakening RTI, strengthening surveillance mechanisms, the new data privacy law, which is quite disturbing, as the gentleman who gave the first report on privacy law, that is Justice Sri Krishna, has stated, all of these points towards the creation of a national security state in India. Now, India was not an ideological state. It was built around a constitution, and that was supposed to be permanent. But once again, the Citizenship Amendment Bill, by basically with the basic argument that just as Pakistan is a natural home for Muslims and treats minorities badly, India should be a natural home for non-Muslims of the subcontinent. It doesn't say there is no corollary. India should also treat its minorities badly, but it has implications. So in a way, we don't go quite as far as saying that India is becoming a Hindu Pakistan, but in a way, it does look like India has drawn some inspiration from Pakistan. That's why we say, and Pakistan now features in every political discourse in India, from parliament to election campaigns, etc., etc., etc. By 2014, India had left Pakistan so far behind that we had begun to forget Pakistan. Pakistan was fading from our minds. In fact, joke used to be that 10 miles south of Palam Airport in Delhi, who cares about Pakistan? But that has now changed. We brought Pakistan back into our lives. We are discussing pros and cons of that in this week's lecture.